Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk all about price discrimination. So first up, we ask, what exactly is price discrimination? Well, this occurs when a firm sells the same good or service at different prices to different groups of customers, but that difference in price is not related to any specific cost. So this isn't about shipping or convenience of getting it there. They're simply charging different prices because they want to, not because of any cost related reason. Now, price discrimination is beneficial because it can allow markets to work more efficiently in most cases. But the question that we ask here is it legal? Well, on legality, generally, yes. A good kind of answer to this is the Clayton Act and the Robinson-Patman Act. And basically, this just means that price discrimination is legal if there is no intent to harm rivals. So it's illegal if there is an intent there to harm your rival competition. Now, a little bit more of an advanced example. If we look at the cost argument, if a service is sold at the same price to two different customers, but the cost of serving them is different, this is another form of price discrimination. A simple example, though, is a haircut. So the basic price of a haircut and shampoo is going to be the same regardless of if it's a male or a female, even though the time or overall cost to cut a typical woman's hair is more than that for a typical man's hair. So that's price discrimination, but kind of in the other direction. And it's something that we'll talk about in more detail coming up. So some examples of price discrimination, we have college tuition, airline tickets, movie tickets, hardcover versus paperback books, textbooks, so virtual versus physical, US versus international, and then selected discounts. So we have different people that are paying higher or lower prices, and it's not necessarily just because of the cost to the seller. There are different kind of specific names for different types of price discrimination. In the hardcover versus paperback example, this is called intertemporal price discrimination. So textbooks, all books are not exactly the same, and the international version or a paperback versus a hard copy, these are going to have differences in quality, which are going to make kind of those differences in costs a little bit less relevant. But overall, there are all of these different institutions and all of these different instances where it does, in fact, make sense that different people are charged different amounts regardless of cost to the seller. So, college tuition, maybe in state versus out of state students get to pay different prices, or based on income, students are paying different prices as well. Airline tickets, it may not be a cost to the airline that they're taking into consideration, but the timing. So, is it further in advance or is it last minute? And then there are all kinds of different reasons why a firm may choose to implement price discrimination. These are just to show you that it is not illegal. It is something that does happen pretty commonly just about everywhere that we go. So, a strange example of price discrimination, there is a restaurant in Malaysia that sets prices segmented according to height with a discount for the elderly. Now, a discount for the elderly maybe makes sense, but why do you think this particular restaurant sets their prices according to a person's height? Well, this particular guide called the Ultimate Guide suggests that it's a tax on Western foreigners who typically are taller than locals. So if the prices are segmented by height, foreign visitors would typically pay more than those local residents. Now, some conditions of price discrimination. There are two particular conditions that have to be met for price discrimination to be successful. First, the firm must be able to distinguish groups of buyers with different price elasticities of demand. So, which groups of buyers have a higher or a different willingness to pay? They then must also prevent resale of the goods or service. You don't want that person that gets a discount on your service or your good to then turn around and resell it to somebody else. When we talk about price discrimination and kind of making these decisions to come through with preventing resale, we have to be able to distinguish our groups of buyers. So the general pricing rule is that we want to charge a higher price to our customers that are relatively inelastic, meaning that these customers are insensitive to price. We want to charge a lower price to those more elastic consumers who are more sensitive to those changes. And the way that we can distinguish between these is to look for easily observable characteristics, because your consumers will typically identify themselves. And a lot of times this means that your consumers are going to self-select into a group. So early bird specials, these are going to capture people like your retirees and your families with children who tend to be more price sensitive. And the way that you can capture this group or allow them to self-select is that they will typically take it upon themselves to seek out these early bird specials, head there and get the deal. Whereas your group that's relatively inelastic about dinner prices will wait until a little bit later and they naturally will just be weeded out. Cell phone companies offer a lot of different plans to kind of help cater to those different groups of buyers. And that's another way that price discrimination is implemented successfully. Now, in terms of preventing resale, the first question we ask is why? Well, the customer who buys at the low price would then take what they bought, turn around and sell it to somebody else that's willing to pay that higher price. We have to go ahead and do our best to go ahead and prevent that resale by maybe requiring a photo ID. This is something that airlines do a lot. Timestamp movie tickets so people can't come back and use them later. Offering non-transferable warranties. And then also just kind of working on offering price discrimination with services rather than goods. So doing these two things will kind of help us to successfully implement price discrimination. And if we're able to do that, then we're able to most effectively put out prices that are going to relate to the customers that we need them to. Now that's where we're going to go ahead and end this video. If you want to learn about the effects of price discrimination, you can head back over to Blackboard and watch that one. Otherwise, please email me if you have any questions. Thank you.